What I'm going to show you today is how you can build generative AI applications with HeatWave, and all the components which are required to build a rich generative AI application are present inside HeatWave. So all the processing is done inside HeatWave, the data remains inside HeatWave, so it's secure and it's fully integrated. In this application, this is an e-commerce application running on HeatWave, and all the processing which is required, for instance, the product description, the price and such, this is all being stored inside HeatWave in a transactionally consistent manner. So you see that when a user wants to enter a new product description, it's stored inside HeatWave in a durable manner. When we want to update the information about the reviews, that's all stored inside HeatWave. So all the processing is happening inside. Now we have the transactional processing inside HeatWave. We have support for AutoML. We have support for JavaScript. We have support for vector processing. That is all happening inside HeatWave. So what you're going to see is all the processing is happening in a transactionally consistent manner inside HeatWave. One of the features of this application is the ability for users to write a review. When the review is submitted and approved, it goes to the backend to HeatWave, at which point two things happen. The review is stored inside HeatWave for durability. So it's a transaction which gets committed, it's stored inside HeatWave for durability. The second thing is there's a JavaScript program which is running inside HeatWave. This JavaScript program takes the review and sends it to the LLM, which is also running inside HeatWave to do sentiment analysis. So for a given review, we are able to figure out whether the review has a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment, and this sentiment is also persisted inside the database. So all the processing which has happened so far, the transaction processing, the execution of the JavaScript, the LLM execution, that's all happening inside HeatWave in a transactionally consistent manner. Now, the other capability which we have in this application is the ability for users to do a summarization. So there are individual reviews which are being written, and in the first step, we generate the sentiment. But the second aspect is to be able to do a summarization. For that, the JavaScript program fetches all the reviews which have a positive sentiment, which were determined in the previous step, sends it to the LLM to do a summary, and then similarly, it will fetch all the reviews with the negative sentiment and sends it to the LLM for summarization. And this is, again, LLM which is running inside the database. Once this review has been generated, the positive reviews and the negative reviews, this summary is sent to the application. Now, what you can see is that during the generation of the summary, the LLM has picked up the appropriate excerpts from the individual reviews. So for instance, in the review which was just added, there was a reference to sustainable material, and that is also reflected in the summary which is generated by the LLM. Now, an application like this is most likely going to be deployed in multiple regions where people will have a preference for different kinds of languages. So all the aspects of the translation are done inside HeatWave using the LLM. So for instance, the product description that is translated inside HeatWave using the LLM. The summaries which are generated, they are also translated. So the JavaScript program fetches the reviews, sends it to the LLM, it does a summarization, and in addition, it does a translation. And in this specific case, it's translating it to Spanish. Once it has been generated, it sends to the application for rendering. So what I've shown you so far is that all the processing which is required for an application like this is happening inside HeatWave. The data remains inside HeatWave, so it's secure. There is no call out being made to an external application, so it's low cost. Now you're going to wonder, like, how much of an effort or how much of programming did it take to build an application like this? Well, I'm going to show you the complete backend code which was required to generate the sentiment. The only ML piece of code which had to be written is shown in yellow. So just a SQL interface, you call ML generate, and you pass in the prompt which says describe the sentiment. That's all the coding which had to be done. And there is no invocation to any external service. This is invoking an LLM which is running inside HeatWave. So it's extremely simple to use, and rest of the code which you see is actually the filler code. The AI piece of the code is shown in yellow. For the other two generative AI features I talked about, the summarization and the translation, there again, you can see extremely simple to write, one line of code. And the other interesting aspect is there is no AI expertise which was required, right? Because the user is just saying, hey, do the summarization or do the translation. So you don't need to be an AI or ML expert to develop generative AI applications with HeatWave. So hopefully what I've shown you is you can write develop rich generative AI applications with HeatWave. The processing is done inside HeatWave. The data remains inside HeatWave, so your applications are secure. It's low cost. You're not making any external call out. And it's very simple to develop without requiring any ML or AI expertise. Thank you.